What if I told you there are guns you can legally own in America? No background check, no paperwork, no federal dealer involved, not a conspiracy, not a loophole, just straight-up law. Yeah, the same country where buying cold medicine gets you flagged. But you can still pick up a Glock from a private seller in Texas and walk out clean. The truth is, while the media screams about untraceable ghost guns and gun show loopholes, most folks have no clue how many firearms you can legally acquire without ever touching a federal form. Today, we're pulling the curtain back on 10 firearms you can own without a background check or going through an FFL, all under federal law. But here's the twist. While Uncle Sam says yes, your state might slam the brakes hard. From black powder revolvers that ship to your front porch to modern pistols passed over coffee with a neighbor. Just don't mistake federally legal for 50 state safe. That's where the devil lives, in the fine print of state law. And trust me, we're going to cover that too. Let's dive in. Across America, a growing number of firearm enthusiasts are turning to at-home shotgun builds. These builds start from legally sold parts or 80% kits that don't meet the federal definition of a firearm. As long as the completed weapon complies with the National Firearms Act, meeting minimum barrel and overall length requirements, and avoiding illegal configurations, it remains lawful under federal code. Building a pump-action or break-action shotgun from raw components is perfectly permitted, provided the final product meets these criteria and stays for personal use. This approach appeals to those who enjoy hands-on craftsmanship and full control over their firearm. Most kits require basic tools, a few hours of focused work, and a clear understanding of state-level restrictions. While federal law doesn't require serialization or registration for a personally built shotgun, several states have closed that gap. California, for example, mandates a serial number for all homemade firearms. Other jurisdictions have imposed waiting periods, permitting processes, or outright bans. Despite these complications, the practice of legally assembling your own shotgun continues to thrive. Gun builders value the experience, the skill development, and the legal privacy that comes with not going through an FFL. As long as the build complies with ATF standards and state laws, it offers a compelling path for self-reliant gun owners. Many builders even craft these shotguns as budget-friendly survival tools, emergency backups, or just as a way to sharpen their gunsmithing skills without diving into regulated territory. The result is a legal firearm that carries the stamp of personal labor, not just a price tag. Firearms manufactured before January 1, 1899 hold a special legal status under United States federal law. These antique guns are not classified as firearms by the ATF, which means they can be bought, sold, and owned without any federal background check, FFL transfer, or even a serial number. Firearms manufactured before January 1, 1899 retain a fixed legal classification under federal law, which applies consistently across calibers, mechanical condition, and operational status. Collectors often seek out antique Smith & Wesson, Colt, or Remington revolvers from the late 1800s. These pieces still fire live ammunition if properly maintained, and they often use calibers that are still available today. Many are sold online or at gun shows, changing hands like any other antique. No paperwork required under federal law. While some states have chosen to apply modern gun laws to these antiques, many still allow ownership and transport without registration. This category of revolvers provides both historical significance and modern-day utility. Unlike replica black powder pistols or hobby builds, these are real firearms that have survived more than a century and remain legally accessible in many jurisdictions. Buyers who can verify the date of manufacture and confirm local legality gain a unique piece of firearms history. No background check, no FFL, and no bureaucratic hurdles. Many of these revolvers retain original craftsmanship, often built with hand-fitted parts that reflect a level of detail not found in modern mass production. For collectors who want freedom with heritage, pre-1899 wheel guns carry both. Among the most legally accessible firearms in the United States are black powder revolvers. These percussion cap handguns are not considered firearms under federal law, as defined by the Gun Control Act of 1968. Because they use loose powder, percussion caps, and lead balls rather than modern cartridges. they fall outside the jurisdiction of the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF, for federal regulation. This classification allows them to be purchased online or in-store and shipped directly to a buyer's residence without requiring a background check or transfer through a licensed dealer. These revolvers, often modeled after historical designs such as the 1858 Remington or 1860 Colt Army, still offer full functionality. Modern reproductions maintain accuracy and reliability, especially with well-made Italian imports from brands like Uberti or Pieta. Enthusiasts value them for recreational shooting, historical reenactment, and survival preparedness. In some states, black powder handguns are still subject to local firearm laws, requiring compliance with minimum age or possession restrictions. Buyers must review state-specific rules before purchasing. Despite evolving firearm policy in various states, black powder revolvers continue to represent a unique legal category. Their status under federal law remains consistent, and many gun owners consider them an entry point into self-reliant shooting. These weapons combine simplicity, effectiveness, and accessibility into one of the most overlooked options in today's heavily regulated firearms market. The lack of serial numbers and the direct-to-door legality give them a quiet appeal for those who want options outside traditional systems while staying within the letter of the law. Privately purchased AK-47 variants remain legally obtainable under federal law, provided the sale occurs between two residents of the same state that allows face-to-face firearm transfers without a background check. These semi-automatic rifles, typically chambered in 7.62 by 39, have long been favored for their reliability, rugged construction, and battlefield-proven performance. Popular models like the WASR-10 or Century Arms VSKA are widely circulated and commonly exchanged through private transactions in states that permit them. Federal law does not require a background check for intrastate private sales, as long as both parties reside in the same state and no commercial dealer is involved. However, many states have implemented their own restrictions on such transfers or banned specific configurations of AK platform rifles altogether. States including California, New York, and New Jersey enforce bans on so-called assault weapons, often naming AK variants directly. In contrast, states like Texas, Arizona, and Florida maintain lenient policies that uphold the legality of private sales without additional oversight. Collectors and shooters seeking a battle-ready rifle with serious pedigree often pursue these variants for both recreational and defensive use. The simplicity of the AK design, combined with the opportunity to purchase one through a legal private transfer, makes it an enduring favorite among firearms owners who understand both the law and the platform. Many owners also appreciate the availability of spare parts, extended magazine options, and rugged aftermarket furniture, which allows each rifle to evolve with the shooter's needs without stepping outside legal lines. Decades of surplus circulation turned the Mosin-Nagant into one of the most recognizable and widely distributed bolt-action rifles in civilian hands. Chambered in 7.62 by 54, this Russian workhorse served through multiple wars and has earned a reputation for brute durability and battlefield simplicity. Under federal law, these rifles, when transferred between two private individuals in the same state, can be legally acquired without background checks or FFL oversight, assuming the state in question permits private sales. The long production history and lack of modern features place most Mosin rifles outside the scope of assault weapon definitions in restrictive jurisdictions. In states that allow private transfers, these rifles are often found at gun shows, estate sales, or through face-to-face transactions among collectors. Many examples are still available with matching parts and bayonets, offering historical value as well as practical use for hunting or range time. For those interested in owning a piece of military history while bypassing the red tape that surrounds newer rifles, the Mosin-Nagant remains a legal and accessible option in many parts of the country. With millions produced, their presence in the private market continues to support lawful ownership under relaxed federal guidelines. The rifle's rugged construction and fixed internal magazine make it a solid platform for new shooters or collectors alike. Some owners even invest in modern optics mounts and synthetic stocks, blending old-world steel with current-day shooting setups while staying fully within legal boundaries. Home-built handguns constructed using polymer 80 frames have surged in popularity due to their customizability and legal status under federal guidelines. These frame kits, often referred to as 80% lowers, do not meet the federal definition of a firearm in their uncompleted state. This allows them to be purchased without background checks or FFL involvement. Once completed into functional pistols, however, their legal status shifts depending on state laws and recent regulatory changes. Many gun owners choose Polymer 80 platforms to build Glock-style pistols that fit personal preferences in grip texture, slide serrations, trigger feel, and optic compatibility. The build process requires basic machining and assembly knowledge, but offers satisfaction to those who value independence and technical control. These builds are intended for personal use and must not be sold or transferred without proper serialization where required by law. Recent ATF rule changes now mandate serialization and registration in several states. Builders must stay informed and compliant to avoid unintentional violations. In jurisdictions that continue to honor federal definitions, Polymer 80 kits represent a flexible path toward legal handgun ownership without the delays or oversight imposed by traditional purchase channels. This method also appeals to hobbyists who enjoy the process of shaping their tools from raw material, combining craftsmanship and personal defense into one experience. The finished result often rivals factory-built handguns in both performance and reliability, all while remaining fully legal under the right legal conditions. Many firearm owners acquire their first handgun not from a store, but through family inheritance. Under federal law, firearms passed down through wills or interfamily transfers do not require a background check or processing through a licensed dealer. If a person lawfully inherits a Colt 1911 from a deceased relative and both parties reside in the same state, there is no obligation to involve the National Instant Criminal Background Check System or register the transfer through the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives. The Colt 1911, known for its proven performance and military heritage, remains a prized possession in many American households. Inheriting such a firearm preserves not only its mechanical legacy, but also a family's cultural connection to military service, law enforcement, or responsible self-defense. Although the federal government does not interfere with lawful in-state inheritance, some states impose extra steps such as mandatory registration, permits, or firearm ID cards after the transfer. Anyone receiving an inherited firearm must understand both the condition of the weapon and the legal expectations surrounding its continued possession. In most jurisdictions, as long as the recipient is not a prohibited person and the inheritance occurs within state lines, the firearm remains legal to keep, carry, and maintain without additional paperwork. This process continues to reflect the deeply personal nature of firearm ownership passed from one generation to the next. It also highlights how the law still respects tradition in some corners of American life, at least for now. We've seen old war horses, smoke-belching six-shooters, and heirlooms with more legal gray zones than a politician's tax return. But now it's time to crack open the category of guns that are so common, so damn handy. They practically sell themselves. No lawyer, no lecture, just lead. These next picks don't need a backstory carved in oak or a signature from Grandpa's will. They just need a guy with cash, a clean conscience, and maybe a handshake behind a gas station in a free state. Buckle up. This next one's small caliber, but it punches above its paperwork. Few rimfire rifles have achieved the level of popularity and availability seen with the Ruger 10/22. Lightweight, reliable, and easy to operate. This semi-automatic 22 LR rifle has become a staple in American shooting culture, from first-time youth shooters to seasoned small-game hunters. When transferred through a private sale between individuals residing in the same state, this rifle may be acquired legally under federal law without the involvement of a background check or an FFL, provided state law does not override that allowance. The 10/22 is widely known for its modularity and aftermarket support, allowing owners to upgrade stocks, triggers, optics, and magazines with ease. Its affordability and low recoil make it suitable for recreational plinking, training, and pest control, while its simplicity allows private sellers to confidently exchange ownership under the right legal conditions. Many of these rifles are passed along at gun shows, local forums, or community meetups in states that do not require FFL mediation for in-state sales. Ownership of a Ruger 10/22 acquired this way still requires the buyer to meet basic legal qualifications under federal law. In states without universal background check mandates, this method remains a lawful and accessible path to gun ownership. Responsible individuals looking to acquire a practical and historically proven rimfire platform often turn to this classic .22, both for its ease of use and the minimal red tape involved. Its continued production and widespread circulation ensure that demand in the private market stays high, especially in regions where firearm freedom is still respected. Few platforms in the firearms world offer as much customization, availability, and raw freedom as the AR-15. When constructed from an 80% lower receiver, this rifle falls into a unique category under federal law. An 80% lower is not legally defined as a firearm until it is completed into a fully functional lower. Because of this, individuals may legally purchase these components without a background check or dealer involvement. Once machined and assembled by the end user for personal use, the completed rifle is recognized as a firearm, but remains legal under federal guidelines, provided it complies with all applicable laws, including barrel length, stock configuration, and overall dimensions. This method of building an AR-15 appeals to gun owners who want to avoid red tape while gaining intimate knowledge of the rifle's mechanics. Many enthusiasts prefer to hand-select their own parts, matching barrels, triggers, and optics to create a personalized setup for defense, sport, or competition. Additionally, private transfers of fully built AR-15s between residents of the same state can occur legally without background checks in jurisdictions that do not impose additional restrictions. These states allow a buyer and seller to complete a lawful transaction with no federal oversight required. Builders and buyers must stay up to date with evolving laws, especially as ATF regulations and state laws continue to target home-built rifles. Some jurisdictions require serialization and registration of finished firearms, while others have banned the sale or possession of 80% lowers outright. Still, in states where the law supports it, building or buying a non-serialized AR-15 through legal private means remains one of the most direct paths to rifle ownership, free from federal interference. The Glock 19 Gen 3 has earned its reputation through decades of service, field use, and civilian carry. Known for its compact size, balanced recoil, and magazine compatibility with larger Glock models, the Gen 3 version continues to be one of the most popular handguns in the United States. What sets it apart in this list is the fact that, under federal law, it can be acquired through a private sale in states that allow such transactions without the need for a background check or transfer through a federal firearms licensee. This makes it both a practical and accessible option for buyers seeking a proven pistol with no paperwork trail. In states with relaxed laws, such as Texas, Arizona, and Florida, private individuals are permitted to sell handguns face-to-face, as long as the buyer is legally eligible to own a firearm. The Glock 19's popularity means it is widely available in private markets, often exchanged at gun shows, forums, or through trusted local contacts. These transactions allow law-abiding citizens to obtain one of the most dependable striker-fired pistols on the market while avoiding the bureaucratic delays of retail gun shops. The Gen 3 model remains particularly significant because of its broader compatibility with aftermarket parts and its long-standing legal availability in many jurisdictions. While newer generations may be restricted or unsupported in certain states like California, the Gen 3 continues to thrive due to its compliant design and proven performance. When acquired legally through a private transfer, it combines reliability, concealability, and federal-level legal clarity, all in a platform trusted by military, law enforcement, and civilians alike. That's 10 straight-up legal ways to stay armed without groveling for a stamp from Uncle Sam. No background checks, no FFL middleman, no bureaucratic chokehold. As long as you play it smart and know your state laws are cold, federal law still leaves room for freedom. But the map is getting patchier by the year. Some states protect your rights, others try to choke them behind registration forms and political grandstanding. The guns on this list aren't loopholes, they're law. And until Congress rewrites the playbook or ATF goes full throttle, this ground is still ours to stand on. Now it's your turn. Which of these guns do you already own? Which one surprised you the most? And which would you grab before the next wave of bans rolls in? Drop it in the comments, sharpen each other up, and don't forget, this isn't about collecting gear. It's about owning knowledge, owning responsibility, and keeping your rights locked tight.